Thank you very much indeed. Nkateko with me now in our studio here, just outside, of course, the Budget Speech 2023, is the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni. She joins me now. Minister, good afternoon. Thanks for coming through.
Good afternoon, Stephen, and to your viewers.
How do you believe the budget is going to help people in their daily lives, and particularly around the cost to communicate?
For me, the budget is going to be quite helpful because it will allow us to roll out connectivity. Like when we conclude digital migration, we are rolling out SA Connect, where we're committed to the 33,000 community Wi-Fi hotspots, and that's part of the things that we do. But part of that, us being able to run them, and I indicated during the SONA debate that we are using ISPs, the small imaging ISPs, to roll out. It then gives competition to the telcos. Because if you check, and I use an example of one ISP, Elita Technologies, that have rolled out Wi-Fi to the home in Tanzania. They've gone over, now I'm sure they've gone over 5,000 households. And they're able to give a package for R5. Yeah. So it shows that if there's competition, we can drop the cost. And for us, that's the commitment. That's why we're using ISPs for that, so that we can. And this year, between the Broadband Access Fund and the SA Connect Fund, we'll be able to do more than 32 districts in the country, 16 each. And next year, next financial year, we'll then do the remaining districts. And that, for me, is major, because it doesn't matter where you will be. In a rural area, you should be able to go to a hotspot. If you are lucky to stay next to a taxi rank or a public facility or a convenience center or a traditional little place, you should be able to have access to that Wi-Fi, because we are making sure that we can have end-to-end coverage in an area, and that's why it's over 33,000 that we are targeting in the country. So for me, that is major.
We've seen a really quite a rapid decline in the cost of communication. There are several reasons for this. Part of it has been the change in government policy, part of it's been ICASA, part of it has also, of course, been digital migration. I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. It's also because of the rollout of fibre, which has been driven, I suppose, primarily by two instances. One, the private sector, and the other, telecom, which is sort of the private sector. I don't know. I don't think it's fair to say government's lost control of this process, but it's certainly fair to say that life has changed for people who communicate digitally, which is all of us.
So life has changed, but government has enabled those changes. Remember, if we didn't provide the spectrum, if we didn't release the spectrum, the rollout of 4G and 5G will not be taking place in the country, and that has enabled. But I must also say to COVID-19, we must give credit for fast-tracking that rollout and that reach quicker, because it's during the time of COVID-19 that expansion took place quicker, and also it enabled government to do. But also it's because of government policy. Government policy has been agile enough to allow such a rollout to come through. We may differ. There are projects that took longer, like the spectrum auction.
I was going to say, do you really want to say that?
But look, Stefan, even if I have to say it myself, since I took over, I think there's been momentum in the place. Spectrum auction, we managed to do it within a record of 7 months of me taking over office. Digital migration, we covered more than what had been done in over a 10-year period in a space of just less than 18 months. And I think we should be given credit for that. But also the policies change. We went out with the spectrum policy, which we are going back to cabinet to finalize, to change that, to allow that participation. And what is good is the partnership that we acknowledge that is not on our own, is the partnership with industry. And if you look at the policy of spectrum, we consulted, we said we want to roll out end-to-end 4G and 5G in the country as we prepare for 6G. Give us a timetable, and we are waiting for them to finalize the timetable. The social obligations that we've given for making sure that all schools are connected, all police stations are connected, is because we acknowledge that partnership. And that's why we say we must work together to build South Africa. It's not government alone, it's government with the private sector, but also government with community, and also community to private sector. And I want to use this opportunity to plead to our communities: you must protect the infrastructure. The telecommunications companies are really spending money which they could be spending to roll out the networks on batteries that are being vandalized, on solar systems that are being vandalized, or not only vandalized, but they're being stolen, unnecessarily so. And if you don't protect them, you should know one day you'll need to call an ambulance service when you're in desperate need, and you will not be able to call because that connectivity will not be available. And for me, that's why I say we need a partnership. But let me say, though the costs are going down, we are not happy as government as the cost, and even other governments are not happy. I remember reading last week what the government of Canada has done in terms of driving down the cost of communication.
Within all of this, and it gets quite complicated, is digital terrestrial television, and to completely oversimplify the issue, we have analog television, the SABC and ETV. They are using space spectrum that would then be used by mobile telephone providers. In other words, 4G and 5G primarily. There's the great digital switch-off. I know several provinces have been switched off. When do you expect that process to be completely over?
I think before end of June this year, the process should be over. We'll gazette a date. We're going to Cabinet because policy wants us to consult with Cabinet on the date. We are going to Cabinet on a date. We went out on a public consultation for views. We got the inputs. We had 17 respondents because others we wrote to them directly. We got 17 respondents and 3 objections. Everybody else was happy and they suggested what we should not do. They were worried that we may leave other people. We said the court has said we must give people an opportunity to apply, and those who have applied, we are going to connect them before we switch off. Everybody who has applied will connect them before we switch off. So that is a given. But the court also acknowledged that this project has been delayed unnecessarily over a period of time and must be concluded urgently, given the impact it has on the economy of the country and which affects all of us directly. And we have been complying with all the court instructions. We are firmly aware that with all the requirements that the court has provided, we are confident that we have complied fully, and will then announce the switch off. We are going to write back to the people who have objected to just respond to their objections. Those who need assurance will assure them of the things that they are worried about. But switch off is going to happen within this year.
No one's going to be left behind. There's going to be no one who switches on a television and realizes it doesn't work and can never make it work again.
So the ones who did not apply, of course, they will be left behind. But what we have put in place is the ability that when such instances happen, they should be able to reach us and we'll be able to connect them as soon as humanly possible, because we use human beings, and for us that's important.
One of the issues that's come up in the last little while is, I think it was Media Monitoring Africa, but it might have been SOS, Save Our SABC Coalition, who suggested that they're going to start a legal process to ask the President why he has not yet appointed a board to the SABC. It's been over 3 months since the Parliament went through this process. As I understand it, the President only has to appoint a chair and deputy chair of the board. Do you know what the hold-up is? I know it's not you who appoints, it's the President who appoints. But I don't quite understand the hold-up, and clearly neither does Media Monitoring Africa. So there's a very flawed assumption out there that the President must just simply is a simple rubber stamper. The President must apply his mind, and he's doing that. He's applying his mind onto that, and he's asking the questions that have to be asked, so that when he does the appointment, and the appointment should be done soon, but he has to check whether all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and that's the process that he's doing. The President does not simply receive a list from Parliament and rubber stamp. And the time that the President received the list and the accompanying CV, they go to the President on the 10th of January, and they have to be analyzed given the work that Parliament has done, and he must apply his mind. That's what the Constitution obliges him to do. And in that process of applying his mind, there has been state SONA and all the other things. And we cannot come and say the President is a mere rubber stamp. It's not a mere rubber stamp. He has a constitutional duty to apply his mind, because if you anyway, I can't. I mean, I understand all of that. I accept all of that. It's still 3 months. I mean, it's a long time. Well, it's not 3 months, but it's still a long time.
Look, but bottom line is that the President will make the appointments, and when he has got the clarities that he has sought.
All right. I mean, it is his job to appoint, as I say. The South African Post Office has been in the news again a lot recently. Are you worried about the direction it's taking?
No, I'm not worried at all. The South African Post Office, we've put a strategy, or what we call this Post Office of tomorrow, and we're very clear that it's not Post Office of the future. And the challenges that we've had with the Post Office, we've had engagement. You recall, I took a hammering when we went to the Portfolio Committee, and we requested a closed session. And we requested a closed session because we wanted to be frank with the Portfolio Committee and members of Parliament in terms of the challenges we're facing and the plans to turn around that, to protect also their commercial interest as a post office, because they're not operating as a monopoly. There is competition. We needed to protect that. So where we are, and we should acknowledge that we have not received any funding for the post office for the longest time. We are happy with the 2.4 billion. It will go a long way to address the problems. But those problems of the post office will not be resolved if 68% of the total expenditure of the post office is cost of employees. And that's why part of the proposals we're saying we'll do employee-owned companies so that we can then relieve the pressure in terms of the cost of employees, and then we can see how we take forward the post office. We have started by 1st of April. Each branch of the post office that is operating will be a profit and a cost center, so that the branch managers take responsibility of saying, are you adding value to the post office? The staff at a most basic level, are they adding value in that? And what business can they do? I've always argued with the post office staff. They say, no, but there's challenge e-commerce. And I said, look, spaza shops we are putting an app for spaza shops to be able to sell online. So you can, with your bikes, you can go and offer to deliver bread and a half dozen of eggs in the morning to the households that orders that, and they pay, and you go and fetch and deliver it. It's an opportunity. And for us, we are positioning the post office as the logistic hub of the country, and we are confident, like UPS, the Post Office of South Africa, will be a great company. And we're not saying it's going to happen tomorrow. We have gone to the cabinet and the treasurer and told them that we need 3 years, but the years will include significant changes, the reduction of losses until we break even, and then we tend to make a profit.
If your eggs arrive by bicycle in the morning, they might arrive already scrambled, Minister.
No, they're not.
I'm joking.
They arrive and someone says that I don't like the joke, but I'm very clear. The joke, there won't be a joke, because the postman will collect from the spaza shop and deliver 2 kilometers away. So they won't be scrambled. If they're scrambled, that postman must have the insurance to make sure that fresh eggs are delivered to that household.
I will spend the next few minutes unscrambling myself. Minister, thank you very much indeed. Khumbudzo Ntshavheni is the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies.